Today's episode of The Beat is brought to you by the Waterworks and Hetter HVAC, now better to serve you together and proud sponsors of Ohio State Athletics.
The Talking Tuesday piece is actually over, but there is a chance that we can get some answers with Adam.
The video is not over. Don't turn it off. We still have a long way to go.
No, there's a long way to go.
Yes.
But it is a Talking Tuesday, but there is not a press conference because Ohio State did it all on Monday in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center as they get ready for the Cotton Bowl against Miami. This is Television's Adam King. I am merely Austin Ward of the Austin and Berm Show. The Beat is brought to you by Waterworks, the Waterworks, and we learned a lot. And you have all of the answers that you could possibly need to get ready for the Cotton Bowl.
The only answer that I didn't get, and I'd like to start there, is what...
Wait, there's still questions?
I have one major question, and I don't think we'll ever actually get the answer until maybe after the season.
Okay.
But Ryan Day so intricately described this plan that he has of how they are going to get ready for, gearing up. He talked way back on Selection Sunday about how they want to peak at the right time.
Yeah.
But this plan that he has to make sure that happens. And no, there was never hey, what's the plan? Hey.
Did you think he was going to give it to you?
No, but I want to know. He talked how, when he said it, he was so emphatic. He was like, we have to stick to this, 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 and this. And I wanted to say, sir, what are the thises? Because it's clear that after what happened last year with all the teams on a bye, Ohio State has very much dialed in to something, whatever that something is. We know now that it's going to ramp up here. This is normal. This is what Ohio State saw. Welcome to Talking Tuesday, where the background could change at any moment and you'll never know.
At least there's no holiday decorations behind us this week.
That's hilarious. I wonder.
The plan is to turn the lights on.
That's right. I wonder, when you look at, this schedule here, if now they just say, okay, we're going to treat this exactly like we did when we got done with Tennessee. We're going to treat it exactly like we did when we got done with Oregon. I don't think we'll get that answer, but that was the one thing that I just wanted to continue to get. Maybe we'll bug them on media day down in Texas.
Well, we'll have plenty of opportunities once we get down there. I mean, they got back onto the practice field late last week, Thursday, Friday. They had a chance to watch. They saw Miami win. They knew who the opponent was. They could ramp up that film study. They had done a little bit of preparation for either opponent. They had senior tackle on Sunday, so we know what some of this stuff looks like. We've got a couple days of practice. They're going to let everybody get away for Christmas on Tuesday, later on Tuesday. So, those are some of the bare bones. Now, how many reps does everybody need? How much can we drill down on, the good on good work and who has to still get healthier, who's getting the exact number of reps at right guard. That stuff we're never going to be privy to. Although there is an open practice window on Friday. We'll see them again in Texas for, 20 minutes next week. But I think they have now got through this. Does the bye part make a huge difference? I don't know if it actually does for Ohio State. When you're talking about post-Big Ten championship game this cycle, it's 25 days. Last year was 20 days after the Michigan loss before the game against Tennessee. It's a difference. Is it a significant one? I don't know. I guess we'll find out on New Year's Eve.
I will say the biggest answer that we got, and now we can dive into it.
Okay, we got a pretty big one. We buried the lead here.
We did, because that's how you keep people around.
That's not what they teach you.
They say reverse pyramid, You start with the most boring stuff and then make them stay for the 30 minutes.
Where did you go to school?
That's right. Ohio State has decided, and by Ohio State, I mean Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Will call the plays for the college football playoff. And I'm so excited because while I understand, and he was very quick to point out that he has called the plays a lot of this year,
he's been involved.
He has not called them. Excuse me. I have been a little, what's the way to put this? There have been times this year where I have been not so impressed by what we've seen when it's come to the play calling on offense. I think everybody can agree in Indiana was the number one main sign of all that. We're whispering now as the head coach sits behind the camera here. And he's tied.
He's the one who talked about it.
That's right.
You don't have to be afraid.
Whisper very quietly. With that, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what this looks like. And I think it'll be a new balance for Ryan Day and for Ohio State.
He's a Nike guy. He doesn't wear New Balance.
That's right. He's wearing Nike shoes. Well done. Good joke.
My dad, so.
That's a perfect dad joke. With it, I think it'll be really interesting because I do think you have the benefit of learning what you knew in the past of play calling, while also balancing out what you wanted to know with giving up the play calling and the head coaching roles. With it, I think we'll see less 2-3 tight ends, hopefully. Do you agree?
You'll probably see 2. I don't know if you're going to see 3 or more.
Yeah, 4.
Which has been, I think the biggest frustration for anyone watching Ohio State throughout this year. That does not just apply to the Big Ten championship game. When we've watched some of the breakdowns and then the lackluster execution for Ohio State, that has often been the case where you have seen some of those heavier personnel groupings, although not heavier with extra offensive linemen. We've seen the Bison package and Justin Terry be involved. It seemed like that was going to work. The week before the Big Ten championship game, we saw some extra muscle with Caden McDonald come in place of a tight end. So I think there are other solutions that involve not being in 13 or 14 personnel, which I have to imagine by now that Columbus is the most educated about numerical personnel packages of any place on planet Earth.
What do you think 16 personnel is?
I don't think anyone wants to find out.
I think we could find out.
We could, but should
Bennett, we put Christian out there. Bennett.
I don't think it works because you'd have to be 06. Would be the only way that you could execute that.
I think you just take the offensive line off the field and you put Thurman, you put Max Clare out there. Let them all get a go.
Yeah. No, I don't think that that's necessary. I do think that we are going to see less of that. I think some of the self-scouting that Ohio State did, I think the involvement and influence from Ryan Day, who is taking charge of the overall game planning here. You and I talked about this last week. That was the expectation. Ryan Day did that once his schedule became a little bit relatively lighter for a head coach at Ohio State. There's always going to be plenty to do, especially in December, ramping up for these playoff games. But he was involved even when Chip Kelly was here. He was able to take on a more outsized role in the offensive staff room. So that is certainly happening again. But he did not a year ago take over as the actual final voice and determining factor for what Ohio State was going to run that playoff. Chip Kelly did a very good job of that. But Brian Hartline, they've sort of come to this accord or realization that he is stretched very thin. He's going to continue to stay with the team throughout the college football playoff. That's important as well. He's going to be coaching the wide receivers. So some of this stuff I think had been building for the last week and a half and finalizing that plan. You also, have to, some of the signals were sent on Sunday night when there was no offensive coordinator listed as showing up for media day on Monday. So I think this had been in the works probably since that loss to Indiana and Selection Sunday the next day, even though I don't know the exact designation of and delegation of responsibilities had not been figured out until the last few days.
I think this is a really good thing for Buckeye Nation for 2 reasons. One, I think we know that Ryan Day is one of the best offensive minds in college football, aside from being the best head coach. Just this is getting back to his roots. This is why he came originally to the Woody Hayes, is to help Urban Meyer with that offensive mind that everybody had talked about. So when you get that and you give him the ample time to prepare here, I think that's the big thing you just touched on, is the idea that he will have the opportunity here to game plan this. It's not a week-to-week basis where during the regular season, you're dealing with so much stuff over and over and over again that he needed to kind of put the play calling aside so that he could focus on the actual stuff that is chaos in college football right now. For the next, I don't know what we're looking at, a month here, less than a month until the national championship game. All he has to focus on is football and the actual schematics of the game. And I think that's where Ryan Day, I think we can all agree, absolutely is better than anybody else in the country. So I'm excited to see that. I also just think it was too much for Brian Hartline. That's the one thing. It's not a knock on him. I think it was, you heard Ryan say, we appreciate everything he did. We're really happy for him.
It's about the calendar.
Yes. It's an impossible thing to do, to be a head coach right now, trying to not just be a head coach, but try to build a program. We've said it a couple times now. It takes so much work. You have to get the money. You have to be out there recruiting already. And now to do all that and then also be trying to build a game plan for a national champion, it's just too much. So Brian Hartline, every Buckeye fan, you shouldn't be upset. You shouldn't be, he's done a million things for this university, but I think this was the right call. And I think it's going to be the most beneficial. My other big takeaway is this Miami defense has Ohio State's attention, as it should. And I think we can all agree the Miami offense going against the Ohio State defense, I think, big benefit Ohio State. But this Miami defense going against the Ohio State offense, it's going to be an interesting battle to see. If we hadn't seen that Indiana game, I don't think we would be as concerned. But seeing how the offensive line handled that game, knowing that they now have to get ready for this defensive line that is the strength of the Hurricanes, that they spent the whole day in the backfield of Texas A&M. I mean, if you watch that game, that's the reason it was 3-0 for the longest time there. And Ohio State clearly knows that's what they have circled and said this is going to be probably the tipping point of this game. Somebody said this to me. I thought it was an astute observation. They said defensive lines can pull the upset. They're the great equalizer. If you can get in there and make a lot of things happen, you can create a lot of problems. And I think Ohio State knows that, right?
Hey, everybody, it's Berm. Jeremy Birmingham from the Austin and Berm Show on 97.1 The Fan. It's confession time. I finally stopped pretending I was fine and started Awaken 180 last Monday. I've watched Austin melt away. I've watched Brandon shrink in real time. I've seen Scotty, Vegas, and those guys all look like they're aging in reverse, while I've continued to hold on to 40 additional pounds from the COVID years like it's a media credential. Now, of course, spending 6 hours a day in the car multiple times a week doesn't help, but we all have excuses. The holidays, that's another excuse, but I'm dropping that and already cruising through week one with Awaken 180, feeling the difference. I just feel better, primarily in my joints, and anyone who has arthritis like me knows it's not a joke, especially as we get up there in age. The decreased inflammation I'm already feeling is awesome. There's power in waking up eager to start the day, and Awaken 180 is giving that to me. If you've been watching everyone else succeed, thinking, yeah, maybe someday, trust me, someday starts today. I weigh in next week, and I bet I'll already have lost 10 pounds. Do yourselves a favor, do what we all did, and choose the solution for weight loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Well, and we saw, and I think if you're looking at this matchup, Indiana was able to create those problems without necessarily the NFL caliber talent that Miami has up front. When you're talking about Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor and Justin Scott, these are potential first-round draft picks all across that defensive front for Miami. And Ohio State had problems, whether they were banged up. Integra Shabola is not going to be playing in the Cotton Bowl. Whether it was the wear and tear of the season, whether it was a game plan that was not perfect. Like, we can put all of those things in an explanation/excuse bucket. It doesn't change the fact that they did not block to the level that they needed to, or that they had the week before against Michigan. They struggled to identify where some of the pressure was coming from. They struggled with some of the movement and the stunts and all the other things. They have to be better, and it's going to be new players doing that. So, and against a really good Miami front, that matchup, to use your point, Adam, it is not hard to find a matchup that's going to determine this game. That is exactly where it is. So it's obvious we're not going to be breaking new ground on that, but who and how are you going to do that? What are the schematic adjustments and what are the personnel adjustments? Because somebody's going to have to start at right guard. It sounds as if that opportunity is going to go to Gabe Van Sickle. Probably not a major surprise that is the way that it's been trending based on the way he played in the second half of the Indiana game. Sicko, as he's known.
They got a lot of nicknames going on there.
Yeah, some they won't even say.
That's understandable. But Austin's nickname for me, I'm not allowed to say either.
Television's Adam King.
That is correct. Also, sidebar, we do say it on here all the time. World Market. Add World Market to the Television's Adam King list.
If you see Television's Adam King deep in the heart of Texas next week, make sure to let him know. He loves it. I just take notes because it's in the most obscure places. I was looking at a bottle of wine and somebody said, "Is your name Adam King?" And I said, "Boy, yes it is." And he said, "Your TV's Adam King." I said, and you know what's great is then I know where they're coming from. Right here on the beat, which is brought to you by Waterworks. So
nice.
A change there at right guard, a clear mission that's in front, like Carson Hinsman talked about that on Monday as well. They have to be better. They know that. That's not a mystery. They've been watching and evaluating and breaking down that film already. So, that's clear. And you're going to have a different plan because Ryan Day is involved in it. That's all that offensive stuff right there.
So, Talking Tuesday, we ask questions. And I think the biggest question that we are not going to get an answer to, but it's going to be, it's almost exciting to add to this Miami game, is how different is this offense going to look? How different? I can't imagine they're going to walk in and play a completely different game plan. That's just not who they are. Ryan Day said it's a group effort, but I do wonder, in those bigger scenarios, do we see? I noticed Ryan was snapping, and I loved that. Did you notice that too?
He was snapping, and then the camera won't see, but Jeremiah Smith's right leg was just twitching the entire time. He kept lifting it up, like he was ready to, like he was in.
People are going to think you're talking injury.
By the way,
he's 100%.
Also important, answers with Adam, Jeremiah said he was afraid with that quad strain. He wasn't going to be able to play against Michigan. He feels 100% right now. That seems pretty significant. So it was like he was getting into the starter's blocks as a sprinter. Like he wanted to get after it.
He was antsy.
So it's the same thing. Both he and Ryan Day look like they want to go play right now.
And when Ryan was talking about the offense, he was we got to go, we got to move, we got to move, we got to move. And that's the one thing that I think we can all agree we have not seen since the national championship game last year, since the Oregon game, and really not even the Texas game. They kind of took a different game plan. But I wonder if we get a little bit more of that, of the up tempo. Let's go. And has there? Jeremiah said that Hartline's been involved in the wide receiver room, but I do wonder what it's been like around here. How much is, again, going back to the question that I don't know that we'll get an answer to. I just want to know if I could have a fly on the wall camera in the Woody.
It's a lie detector.
A lie detector. That's right. Lie detector. Fly on the wall is a new one. Lie detector. Ryan Day.
We'll file that one away.
Take me through the last 2 weeks in the Woody.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of meeting? I can't imagine there was, because I don't think it was the same kind of frustration after Michigan in any way similar. How much were guys in here working on their own? How much were guys kind of spread out across the country? How much was there an overarching ability to admit that what happened against Indiana, I liked, and this is, Austin Ward coined this, excuses versus explanation. And how much did the explanation actually make sense and not impact this team over the last 2 weeks? Because now I feel like you can finally take a deep breath. You have a team. You have a deadline that's now 10 days away. Man, there's a lot that happened that's going to shape what a national champion looks like.
Yeah.
And we may not know that answer until after the season's over.
Yeah, I think it's different, isn't it? I mean, because all of the stakes that are attached to winning the game and that come with the gold pants, like they poured everything into that. And I think once they accomplish this will sound like a silver lining or a justification for a loss. And I'm not saying that this is how Ohio State views it, but it would be human nature. They knew that they needed to end the losing streak in the rivalry. In finishing 12-0 and getting to Indianapolis was like, that was a chance to exhale. They had accomplished something that hadn't been done around here for a long time. And then you threw 15 different distractions at them all at once. And they didn't handle it that well. But
admittedly,
they have taken accountability from that. That's Ryan Day on down. That's Jeremiah Smith saying that at the end of the season, they didn't practice with the kind of intensity that they needed. They're not hiding from that. They're not pointing fingers elsewhere. They've taken ownership of that, which is the same thing that happened in here in December a year ago on the way to the national championship. So, again, I think that there's not a secret here, that they know that they can't play like they did against Indiana and win a national championship. But almost like that game has been completely wiped from memory in a lot of ways.
Can I ask you this? Going back to a year ago, sitting in this exact same spot, I believe it was actually a year ago they played Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yesterday. When you look at that, do you feel the same energy that you need to know that the Buckeyes are going to go on this run? Do you feel the same?
Well, Jeremiah Smith, world-renowned poet, said, "We've got something for them on New Year's Eve."
I put that out on the Twitter. I always feel so bad because it's not bold. It's just you have to put it out. It's such a great line.
So, is that the kind of energy that you're talking about?
I mean, I did. When he said that, I was like, hey-o.
Hey-o. I feel like you were in a mindset that like maybe you didn't feel it, which is because we haven't seen any of the practices yet.
That's right.
They had to throttle it back for a week or so to get healthy. If that's Jeremiah is healthy. Jeremiah is angry. Jeremiah is relishing the opportunity. And if Jeremiah is putting all of that together into comments like that and setting the leadership tone, that to me is the energy that Ohio State needs.
And then
you bottle that.
If you're watching,
send it to the world.
If you're watching on the YouTube, you've turned it off at this point.
They're in the comments for this doing these.
It's not that I don't feel it. It's you're right that we just haven't been around it, and I don't like that because it's unlike anything we've ever experienced. So I very much understand that we may not fully know the energy around this. I think we'll get a better grasp of it, certainly once we get to see open practice on Friday, once we get to Dallas. But It's nothing that Ohio State has done. I don't like this layoff.
The buys
Get
are
rid
stupid.
of the layoff, all right? Get rid of the stupid buys. And you know what? It's so simple. And you know, why does everybody in college football have to complicate the most simple things? All you got to do is play 1 versus 12. I don't know the math there. 1 versus 16, whatever you need. And then you play, except for the semifinals and championship, everything else is on the home field. And it's as simple as that. Instead, we've got the national champion favorite kicking their feet up for 2 weeks, not because they want to. Like, they don't need that.
Yeah.
March Madness starts Thursday. Selection Sunday happens on Sunday. They don't say, all right, you're the 1 seed. You get 2 weeks off. Have fun.
And what's the deal with airplane food?
And what's the deal with airplane food?
We do need to get down to Texas and feel some of that energy. Ohio State will have their open practice window on Friday, so Adam will have his best Twitter photography skills
darn
going
right I
on
will.
that one. So
You're darn right I
all
will.
15 minutes will be flying out from that. I'll already be in Texas because I want to feel the energy on Friday. Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think they bring in the future players again like they did?
Berm suggested that some of the rules have been adjusted.
I don't believe any of that.
I don't know either.
There are no rules.
We're going to have to get more clarification on that, but it did, at least it was suggested. Letterman Rowe's Mick Walker is standing right behind the camera right now. I believe he was also told that the players didn't think they were going to be as around the team on the road.
Is that an accurate? It says
He was nodding his head.
Wow.
So there's
I didn't know
there's
there
an
were
answer.
rules in college football.
I
I thought you did whatever you want until somebody yells at you.
well, even then you just
At least that's what the School Up North does. I don't know.
keep on trucking even after you do something
That's right.
wrong.
And then you do a couple more wrong and a couple more wrong, really until.
Well, see, here's the thing: you can break NCAA rules, but if you break the actual laws of the realm, then they might stop you. They might put you in handcuffs. So that is a little bit different. With college football rules, those don't actually exist. College football playoff rules, there is a little bit of financial teeth to those, and you have to explain maybe why you did or did not have an offensive coordinator available, and that is because Ryan Day is that for Ohio State now. And that was the biggest takeaway as we got answers with Adam King, television's
Answers
Adam
with
King.
Adam.
But I got to find some way
You've
to
got a million of
I
these.
got to alliterate it somehow.
There you go.
Still a lot more coming throughout this week as we roll along on the Austin and Berm Show in the Beat, which is brought to you by Waterworks. Thanks to everybody for joining us for this one. A little bit different. Some of those questions we won't have answers to, but we will be down there for a Texas Tuesday next week with Television's Adam King. For Adam, I'm Austin. We'll talk to you later.